What's up, everyone? So, as you guys know, iOS 12 has been out for a minute. It's been out for about like a month and a half, to not even, it's probably like a month at this point. But I was running the betas for so long, and one thing that I kept thinking about and one thing I kept looking at was with my older devices, how the iPhone 5S, for example, works on iOS 12 and all these different things, battery life, performance, going at least from 11.4.1 to iOS 12, how it basically held up and stuff. And one thing that I kept thinking to myself was like, how lucky these devices were to get iOS 12. And, Apple really didn't have to push the software update on these devices. And after I did a little bit of research, I already knew it, but I didn't know what devices. But not only did the iPhone 5S, which came out in 2013, get iOS 12, but the iPad mini 2, the iPad Air 1, and the iPod Touch 6th generation. And all those devices came out in 2013. So it's pretty insane to think, a device from 2013, 5 full years ago, is still going to get iOS and OS upgrades and everything like that. Now, the iPad mini 2 and the iPad Air 1 and the iPod and the iPhone 5S all don't run perfectly well on iOS 12. There is a little bit of lag here and there. I was able to mess with an iPad Air 1 on iOS 12, and the iPad mini 3 I upgraded that to iOS 12 too. And, it doesn't run perfectly well. I mean, there's a lot of glitch frames here and there. But I think the fact that, it just got the update in and of itself and it has all the security features of even the latest iPhones coming out now is pretty insane and a pretty cool thing. And the more I think about it, I don't know if it had something to do with Apple trying to go out of their way to make people with older devices, have their devices last longer, or if it was the fact that they didn't want like iOS 11 being the reputation that iOS 11 had of it not being that stable, not being that good, having that kind of reputation of OS in general from Apple. And I don't think Apple wanted those older devices to not only be slow, but to also be on a weird version of OS. And I think they learned their lesson from the iPhone 4S, because they upgraded that to like iOS, I don't know, 9.3.5, and that just wasn't good on the device either. And then the iPhone 4S pretty much died, and Apple just really dropped the ball with it. But with these newer, older devices, I think Apple really didn't want to go down that route again. The iPhone 5S brought a lot to the table. The iPad mini 2 was kind of weird a little bit. The iPad Air 1 was pretty good, and the iPod Touch 6th gen is actually the last iPod Touch we've had. So I don't think Apple wanted those devices to be bogged down with iOS 11, the reputation of it being unstable, ungood, all that stuff. And what Apple did was actually much smarter than a lot of people think. So in a lot of ways, it benefited us as consumers who had older devices, but it also benefited Apple a lot too, because they wanted their adoption rate of OS devices, of iOS devices, to go up. And it didn't really go up too much faster than what the adoption rate was for iOS 11. But right now, of all active devices that run iOS, over 50% of those currently run iOS 12. So that's pretty crazy. So that means out of all the iPhones, whichever ones are supported by iOS 12, whichever iPhones, iPods, iPads, whatever, over 50% of those are running iOS 12. And that's pretty crazy. And I think the older devices also had a lot to do with it too, because if you had like an iPhone 8, if you had like an iPhone 7 even, or a 6S, your first instinct isn't like, oh, I'm going to upgrade today, I'm going to update today. It's like, I'm going to update in a little while, But when you have an older device, and when I had an older device, like when I had a 6 Plus, when I think iOS 11 was coming out, I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go for it. I'm just gonna upgrade. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? You have an older device, it's not the newest thing. And I think people who had the older devices did the same thing. They're like, what do I have to lose to upgrade? And in doing that, Apple actually raised that adoption rate, in my opinion. Now, it didn't go up too much faster, like I said, but I think that had a lot to do with people kind of resisting, because they learned their lesson from iOS 11 and they're like, I don't want to go and just get a bunch of bugs on my phone too. But iOS 12 isn't perfect. It has a lot of way to go. But I think it was a mix of reputation of iOS, and Apple didn't want to just have iOS 11 on all these devices, on these older ones, that would just go down in history as Apple kind of, like jumping the boat and going somewhere else and not even catering to the older devices. So I think it was really cool for them to do it. And overall, I think these devices did get lucky. Yes, it was a weird OS and it just wasn't that good. But in doing that and going through all that, Apple was able to go and support these older devices and go up to iOS 12. So that's pretty cool in my opinion. And it really had to do with not only the reputation, but the adoption rate as well. So that's kind of a viewpoint that I saw. And I think that's probably what ultimately led Apple to cater to these devices and these older devices. But I think it's a really cool little thing that they did. But that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions or if you have anything else to add, leave it down in the comment section below. Hit that like button, that'll mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys could hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel, all those links are down there, so it means so much if you guys could hit that. I do a lot more iOS reviews and iOS comparisons on my second channel, so definitely check that channel. I think you guys will like it, but more importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.